Recording. Recording. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Entry 1. This has to be my 6th attempt at trying to record this thing. I was never quite good at gathering my thoughts. I always was one to take in too much, even on the playground when I was young. I observed. I took in the world around me. I never really played. I just tried to grasp what was happening around me. The thing about the world is that it's quite vast. Everything is happening at different speeds all around you. Minutes can feel like years. Just like when you got called down to the principal's office, and you're sitting in that worn chair in the room that smells like pencil sharpeners and general dread. I'd ask myself, is my family dead? Did I get caught stealing something from the lost and found? Time stretches on before the principal walks in just to tell you to give a business card to your mom or something. Your mom was in the need of a new furnace. Your principal was married to Jim, the best furnace guy in town, so they say. I don't know. Sometimes years can feel like seconds. I turned 28 last week. It came and went. No birthday party. No excitement like when I was a kid. I always got so excited on the week of my birthday when my cousins were coming over. And the smell of angel food cake that Mom had baking in the morning. I would just hope that I'd get something like Scooby-Doo 2 on DVD. Waiting what feels like hours for everyone to pull up to your place with the gifts in their hands. It's been years since any of that has happened. This year, the day was over before it even began. I've recently exited a 5-year relationship. Mind you, it was a fantastic relationship. I couldn't imagine it one day it would end as quickly as it started. I think that was part of the problem. One day you're sitting on her parents' couch, nervous because you want to make a good impression. You take her father's offer of some beer that you can't stand the taste of. You make small talk with her mom about your career aspects and how you love movies. The next thing you know, you get comfortable. Your life plans are just ahead of you in your mind. Like when you order a pizza, you set the groundwork. You make the polite phone call, making sure that you have everything you want on it. Don't forget the green olives. But you still have to do the work to drive the few blocks to pick it up. It's not a huge task. When you get comfortable, though, it's hard to pick up that pizza. I blinked and it was 4 years from the start of that relationship. I was still visiting her parents, talking about my prospects, my dreams. I was telling them my perfect pizza toppings, if you will. It really hit me that day when we ended it. We hadn't moved out yet. We always talked about it, but we weren't quite there yet. I always wanted to work in TV, and I knew it'd be great behind the scenes, but something just blocked me from submitting my application. I was comfortable, I guess. I was procrastinating. The goals were always right there, and I knew I would accomplish them. Time feels like seconds. 4 years, and I got nowhere. She had enough. I really couldn't blame her. She sat down to me on that same couch, cuddled up for the last time, and asked if we were ever going to move forward. It's funny how time can do that so effortlessly. Move forward. But I couldn't. Some days, I honestly wish I could have fought harder. Some days I tell myself this is exactly what I needed to be able to move forward in time. It's been 6 months now since the breakup between Andy and I, and it feels like 3 weeks at most. Time gets faster, but I keep going backwards. Those 5 years undid themselves, and I'm doing exactly what I did at 23 years old. I order out every single day. I spend way too much money online. I'll watch movies like no tomorrow. I do have a job and an industrial factory that I'm most definitely allergic to, that I've been at since I was 23. No fancy TV studio yet. No executive meetings on how to handle the Olympic coverage or whatever movie star is on trial. I don't know. Maybe I'll apply before I'm 30. Worst of all, I scroll, and I scroll. I can't keep away from it. It's a hell that I know what I am doing is a waste of time, but the dopamine it gives my brain is enough. I tell myself that sending videos to my friends is the best human interaction I need for the day, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever felt so alone. I really do tend to wonder how much easier it was all before the cell phone trap it was to meet anybody. I will post a story online just to hope that the pretty blonde I knew years ago views it. Maybe a friend of my ex will see it. Wouldn't that be exciting? She will definitely update my ex on how well I'm clearly doing. What about my first love? You know that first love feeling, the one that not only put butterflies in your stomach, but invented the winged creature itself. She's the one that'll always be beautiful. She still has the ability to ignite a spark by just seeing her name pop up. Will I drop everything and want to come back, like it was meant to be in my mind? Maybe that perfect stranger girl in my mind saw my hashtag, I love movies, and falls in love with me on the spot. I tell myself that is hope and progress. Deep down, I know it is alone. However, there is a new development in my life, the reason why you're hearing this recording. It's not a TV studio contract, it's not my ex coming back, nor it is my first love Dakota knocking on my door in the rain to a "to me you are perfect" sign right out of Love Actually. No, this is far more alone than I ever could have imagined. Let's start with the end of my birthday. I managed to convince my best friend Leo to come with me to the movies for an evening showing of the movie theater attached to my local mall. Jesus Christ, I love Leo. The brother I never had. He has his life figured out. Been with his wife since 14, stable job. Kids are probably the next step. Leo never looks down on me, however bad my situation is. After my breakup with Andy, he took me to the water park. It was a warm summer day. You think the park would be infested with people, but just like everything it seems with rising costs, it was eerily quiet. A few families, one very eager middle-aged man told his wife to watch him go down the slide. A few teenage boys trying to impress the teenage girls going in the wave pool without a floaty. But still, eerily quiet. I hadn't been to the water park since I was a kid. Giggling as my voice echoes down the slides, the smell of chlorine in the locker room with the old empty communal shower that is left with the water hitting the tile. Pit-pat. The big bucket that would take 5 minutes to fill, and you would stand under it, holding your arms across your nipples, which you were self-conscious about, waiting for the anticipation to fall, for the greatest thrill of your young life. Time moves on quickly. I was chatting to Leo on the phone one day and just said how I'd love to go to a water park again. It'd be great if he came too. I don't even know the last time I was in a water park, or Leo. Despite the fact that I'm in my late 20s, I know that every time I even converse with Leo, my inner child comes out, and he respects that. Well, come over Saturday and we'll go, my treat, he said to me. I couldn't see him since we were on the phone, but I knew he was beaming. That's what makes Leo and I different. He puts his plans into actions. He booked the tickets right there and then, and the next Saturday he picked me up and we went to the water park that I hadn't been since I was 10. Leo gets me. He knows I'm in hard times without me even having to say I am or bitching about it. When I tell you we were boys again at that water park, giggling, lying down on the lawn chairs, and making up stories for everyone that we see in the big line in the torpedo slide, that middle-aged man we made fun of as he grins to his wife. Leo told me he's definitely excited. She had to drag him in here. Doesn't like water slides. Reflecting now, that middle-aged man was just like me. Hell, I wonder what the teenage thought of me, nearly 30, going down the slides, giggling like I was 10 again. Jesus Christ. The point is, Leo's extremely important to me, and my mental health. The social media hellscape was normal for my birthday. A ton of my parents' friends writing on my wall, a couple of views on my story where I posted my selfie with the big 28 emoji beside it. Dakota liked it. That was nice. The dopamine only goes so far, however. I saw my parents, which was mostly fine. They brought lunch and agreed to watch my favorite movie, Little Miss Sunshine, with me. I didn't really feel the love until the credits roll, and I saw Leo's name pop up on my phone. The only phone call of the day. He, of course, called to wish me a happy birthday. We gabbed for a good hour, talked about movies. He told me about a TV show about ghosts he watched. We laughed about the dude at the water park again. And his dog's most recent vet appointment. Really mundane stuff, but I didn't care. Hearing from my best friend on my birthday was enough for me. He asked me if I was up to anything. I told him no, maybe just watch a movie and head to bed. He actually seemed quite appalled at this. "It's your champagne birthday, damn it." I remember him yelling at the phone and laughing at it. He was right. I was born on September 28th, 1997. And it was my 28th birthday. Kind of a weird thing about my life that makes me think I'm destined for something great. I was born in the 9th month of the 28th day at 9:28 p.m. An anomaly, really. It made my champagne birthday feel extra special. And Leo wanted to make it special. I remember him saying, "Well, at least let me pick you up and let's see a movie on the big screen. Keep the theater alive." He didn't ask me. He told me. We drove to the empty parking lot of the theater. It was vast with fading yellow lines in all the parking spots. The movie theater just attached to the mall. The movie theater was just attached to the right of the mall complex. It was a decent-sized theater, although it was empty and probably on the verge of bankruptcy. There was a charm to it. The arcade machines in the lobby were dim, but all lit up. There was still a huge cardboard cutout for The Mummy Returns, believe it or not, hung up high above this concession stand. A few missing tiles off the ceiling, distinct smell of movie theater popcorn. No matter what the cost is, I have to get it. Leo and I punched our tickets and watched the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie in theaters. Great time as always, and just fantastic end to my mundane birthday. We got out just about 9 p.m. and headed over to the food court entrance to the mall. Now, our mall closes at 9 p.m., but the food court is always open an extra hour. We got inside, and, I have always loved this mall. It was far from its heyday, but there was something just so stuck in time about it. Whether it was the old prong tables with the metal chairs attached in the food court, to the big water fountain with hundreds of pennies inside of it, and it's right beside the one working escalator. Even the charm of the children's carousel at the back of the food court with 4 ducks to ride, 3 without heads now, and 1 head horribly defaced. I used to just put $1 in it to hear the old carnival-style tune as it would play, with the ducks quacking on the beat. It only got funnier when the head went missing. I keep hearing it'll be removed soon, but that prospect always makes me sad. I don't really know why. Leo and I got A&W, Canadian classic, got some good burgers, and we just conversed over the movie we just watched. An Oscar tender for sure. But Leo doesn't really care about that kind of stuff, so I didn't mention it. The whole place was quiet, and we sat across from one another in a sea of empty chairs. A janitor came by at one point, and there was faint noises from each of the fast food joints slowly turning off their burners and fryers for the night. We chatted for a bit longer, and then Leo's phone lit up with a picture of his wife and dog. Wife was calling. Maura, a longtime friend, even before Leo and Maura met, I knew Maura. She was a really kind and hardworking girl. And Leo was looking at his phone a tad concerned, and when he picked it up, he started to reassure Maura over the phone for some issue. I kept chowing down on my onion rings, and Leo said something about having to drop me off at home first, but he was cut off. He then told her that he'd be there right away, signed off with an "I love you." Leo told me his dog got violently ill and needed to go home right away to drive the dog to an emergency vet. I can come if I would like, but he would have to swing around and drop me back at his place, and I, of course, politely declined and said I would just order an Uber and assured him it was okay for him to leave. He gave me a huge hug. I was a little concerned just from noticing him holding back a tear. It's a strong man, cares for his girl and his dog. Something I hope to have one day for sure. He wished me a final happy birthday, kissed me on the cheek. What a softie. You can just tell from looking at him. Not too tall, with a kind smile. He ran through many tables and through the front entrance of the food court door. I was then alone, once again in the middle of the food court of the Maitland River Mall. Scrolling on my phone. I kind of laughed when I saw that Leo, in all of his rush home, sent me money for my Uber drive home. Again, that's just the kind of guy he is. He didn't have to do that at all. I just finished ordering my Uber when a security officer for the mall came up to me. A tall man, later 50s, one of those huge, funny mustaches. I imagined he worked here since the opening of the mall. I would just love to sit down and hear stories of when the mall was really alive. He'd said something in a scruff voice along the lines of, "Son will be locking up the front entrance in a little over 30 minutes. We ideally like to get closed early since you're the only one left." I, of course, told him that was fine. I just ordered my ride, and I'll head out. Maybe I'll use the washroom first. He nodded with a grin, gently moved on to chat with the janitor, who looked just as old. Maybe they were friends like Leo and I were. I got up, I threw the garbage away in the empty can and put my tray on top. I grabbed my half-eaten bag of movie theater popcorn and my last bit of fountain Coke. And I just headed to the washroom entrance. It always kind of looked odd, just around the corner from the food court, just a really, really long hallway. Had to go down 50 feet before I even saw a door. A couple of flickering ceiling lights, I walked along it. I've done it 1,000 times visiting this mall growing up. It's definitely a bit more eerie knowing that I was the only one really in the building. I came across two doors across from one another, the male and female washroom entrance. Down the hall further was a huge family washroom door, and at the very end were the two big heavy industrial doors with the employees only signs on it. I assumed it was meant for storage and cleaning. My imagination when I was growing up always thought they were secret tunnels that go to every single store, even the ones that are closed down. Anyways, I went in and entered the men's room. It smelled like piss. Probably had 10 urinals, 5 stalls. I wasn't pleased that the echo of my footsteps there turned into a wet echo, if you know what I mean. Gross. Set down my popcorn and drink on the sink setup. There was 3 of them, and I headed over to the urinal. I started to do my business, letting my mind wander, looking at kind of like that Target sponge that was inside, and I was looking at that green button blinking on top of the urinal. You know, guys' minds wander. I was wondering how it tracks the pressure of the piss, because it was a pretty long one. You know, PTA's movie was over 2.5 hours long, and I just had my large fountain drink. Basically my mind went blank. That's when I heard a beep from my watch. I lifted up my free arm, looked up at the old-style calculator watch I had on since I was a kid. 9:28 p.m. I forgot earlier in the day that I set an alarm to go off when it happens. Born 9:28 p.m. for my 28th birthday. Honestly, I imagined I'd be doing something a little bit more special. I felt like it was supposed to be the most defining moment of my life. Everything lined up, and maybe it would mean something. My life was supposed to change, or at the very least get back on track. It was literally written in the stars. Yet here I am, pissing it away. How special. I finished up. As I washed my hands in the sensor-induced sink that you could never get to work, I just looked at myself in that dirty mirror, and I'm not too proud of this, but I teared up a little bit and had a little cry. still grappling on why I did, but it was just the lowest of the low. It felt like everything crashed down on me. You know, no more excuses. You're wasting away your life. It was in no way a proud moment, but thank God I was totally and utterly alone. I cleaned myself up a bit and went to the exit. I breathed heavily and attempted to open the door, and it was stuck. I don't rage often, but I just yelled fucking great. More tears fell down, and I was pulling this door. I work in a factory, for fuck's sakes. I should be able to open this fucking door, excuse my language. Eventually it gave. I almost fell back straight in shock. I quickly got up before the door would slam shut and grabbed a hold of it. Holding my popcorn and drink in one hand and the handle in the other, I went through thinking my Uber was probably here and he'd probably be pissed. But as I walked through the door, I was in this little room. There's no word of a lie, with another door in front of me. I started to get really freaked out, as this is not what the entrance looked like that I've been through like 1,000 times. I looked back to make sure that I was going through the exit and double confirmed of what seemed like 1,000 times. Against my better judgment, I decided to go through the door in front of me. Maybe I'm just tired and delusional and missed the addition that they added it. I don't know. I went through the door in front of me, and then my heart nearly stopped, because on the other side, I walked right into an identical bathroom. Just flipped. On my left were the 3 sinks, with the 10 urinals in the back and the 5 stalls. From my heart stopping, then it rapidly began to rise. A full-out anxiety attack began. It felt like one of those nightmares you had when you were a kid that you'd never forget. The feeling you knew you were going to throw up in front of your classmates on the first week of school. It's that feeling that sometimes you just get on a random Tuesday of impending doom. I felt disoriented. Set down my popcorn and Coke and grabbed myself like I was underneath that big bucket at that water park. Arms wrapped around my chest. I started forming tears and my throat got dry and breathing got heavier, and I looked down at my arms and looked at my watch. Guess what? It still said 9:28 on it. You know how in movies when people fall to their knees in agony and despair? It's not like that in real life. It was very slow motion as I began to fall, knees crashing down onto that cold tile. Couldn't move. All I could do was stare ahead at the hall leading to the urinals and stalls. I eventually slipped down further. I didn't even realize my face hit the floor until I registered the cold dirt that was touching my left cheek. While on my side, I started taking deep breaths as my vision focused on in the hallway down the urinals and stalls. I did notice, though, that this washroom had a noticeable difference to it. At the end of the hall, on the wall between the urinals and stalls, was another door. It looked just the same as the one that I passed through. I don't know why, but I got that sudden urge of energy. I stood up so quickly that I was a little dizzy, and I stumbled through that door at the end of the bathroom hall. As quickly as I could, I opened that door with all my strength that I can muster. It flew open and I ran through. This time there was no little space between the doors. This time I just ran through the door and entered into another identical washroom. This time I was there at the end where the urinals and stalls were. I slowly walked through to where the sinks were, saw my popcorn and Coke sitting there. It was the same damn washroom. It was almost like I was in my own pocket dimension or something of the washroom. My brain absolutely could not take this, and I just ran through the door at the front and just kept running. And I did this over and over and over again. I kept appearing in these identical washrooms, and I just ran. Maybe I was screaming, but I couldn't hear it. I had to have ran maybe 28 sets of doors through the same washrooms. My blind rage to get out, I just entered that flow state. I thought about Andy. I wondered if this was my punishment for wasting her time. I thought about Dakota, my first love, wondering if she ever thinks of me. I thought about my parents, wondering why I haven't returned home. I thought about the security guard who's probably pissed that he is still waiting for me to come out of the washroom and lock up for the night. Hell, I even thought of the poor Uber driver who's waiting outside trying to make ends meet or something. And of course I thought of Leo, just hoping his dog was okay, and that he and Maura in turn were okay. I eventually just slowed down and stopped. I went to the sink, still worked, put some water on my face and sat down across the wall. I could barely see the top of my face in the mirror. My wet curly hair from the water just dripping with sweat and water. My glasses a bit off kilter. My eyes didn't look dead, but just a deepness to them that I've never even seen in my own reflection before. I looked rough. I didn't even think to check to my phone. Sure enough, the time displayed on it was 9:28 p.m. No notifications, no cell service, 28% battery life left. I opened it and just looked at photos in my gallery. I don't even know if it was to pass the time or if I was just searching for something. Anything. That was my doom scroll for the evening. Old memes I've saved. Good job. Memories of myself and Leo at the water park. Bunch of photos I hadn't gotten around from deleting from Andy and I's relationship. My phone gallery went all the way back to 2017. I must have scrolled for hours. I don't even remember when I stopped. I just ended up falling asleep on the cold, cracked, disgusting floor. When I awoke, my phone was still on, down to 9%. That was stupid. Never know when I'm going to need that again. I was still lying on the floor, and then I got up, looked around, and looked at above the urinals. Something I saw that I didn't notice before. I saw a vent. Small, but fittable. Probably full of dirt and diseases, but it was probably there from the start. I probably just didn't see it when I was running in a panic. I thought to myself that I'll try the doors just twice more. And if I'm still in here, I'll climb up to the vent. The last two attempts at the doors were pathetic to say the least. I thought if I took it slow and closed my eyes, I would be back. Nope. Back in the same damn bathroom, I tell you what. I then explained, "Please, God," as I ran through the door. I'm not even religious. I'm not anything. Not in life, and sure as hell not where I am now. Religion brings comfort and hope to scared people, so maybe that's why I yelled it. But it didn't help. I was still exactly where I started. Cold, alone, hopeless. Before attempting to crawl on the urinals to get to the vent, I really had to think if this was the right choice. This could put me in a worse situation. I kept thinking, maybe if I wait 5 more minutes, something will change. 10 more minutes. Maybe if I wait half an hour. But what's the sense? My watch isn't even working. I am out of options. So I did what I don't normally do. And I moved forward, even if it's inch by inch. I stood up on top of the urinals, kind of wobbly. My damn shoe was untied. I never was quite good at keeping that tight, actually. It's a story for a different time. I reached, and despite not being that tall, I was able to open it up. It took some jimmying, and a lot of dust came out of my face, which I didn't like, but I was able to get it open. I dragged myself to the top of the vent and used all the strength I can muster. The width of this vent was just enough for my body. However, I felt like those guys who crawl into those dangerous caves and never get out. The claustrophobia began to hit as I started inching my way through the blackness of this vent in the ceiling. Even my phone light didn't show much ahead, but the phone was dying anyways. The worst part was the must of the vent. dry. Felt like something was attacking my nose and into my throat. I would cough and keep crawling. I just started replaying my day in my head over and over again. I was Groundhog Daying it. If I could repeat this day, how can I change it to a different outcome? What if I woke up and actually went and did something? It was Saturday, for Christ's sakes. Why am I at home? Why did it take for the evening for Leo to call and get my ass out of bed? Why do I insist on eating at the food court? Like, that's weird, right? Worrying that I'm going to inconvenience Leo. Why'd I take the easiest option of going to the nearest food place after the movie? Leo mentioned a bigger restaurant, I'm sure. Why didn't I just go with Leo during his emergency? I could have comforted him. I could have stayed the night, not doing anything tomorrow. If I would have just left him. I wouldn't be here. It's just, I started going back further into the tunnels and the vents in my mind. What if I gave some fight to save me and Andy? What if we did move out? I'd probably be with her at a birthday dinner. Back to my place with my life moving forward. She'd feel happy and not like she wasted time. I know the breakup was for the best. Bigger and brighter things ahead, I told myself. But I didn't picture this vent that I'm in. I went even further back. Why was I so nervous that my first love, Dakota, was out of my league? That I would ruin the friendship? What if I just stood up for myself once? I wouldn't be here. I hear Dakota's traveling to Europe right now. Could I have been at the top of the Eiffel Tower proposing to her now instead of just stuck in a musty vent if I just stood up for myself once in my life? I feel haunted, man. I'm the only one to blame here. All in all, I think it was a quiet echo of that vent that almost killed me. Every inch of getting nowhere, inside and out, drove me to the brink. Crying, defeated, my mind was loud, but the world was silent. The opportunities I missed are silent. Not just to be out here, but the opportunities to make myself happy. I stopped at one point, just laid there in the vent, not sleeping, not thinking. To be honest, I just laid there, numb. After what I assumed to be half an hour, I don't know, my phone's not working, my watch isn't working, but sometime after that point, I heard a loud bang. This scared me half to death. I was totally in the unknown. You know, I read stories of monsters, cryptids, you name it. I didn't want to move, but my mind just was telling me what it's been telling me this entire trip into the vent. Keep moving forward. I inched as the subtle echoes and creaks of the vents just got louder as I panicked into my mind, racing with possibilities of what I can come across. It's almost involuntary of how I was gaining speed. Sweat dripping down the glasses onto my nose, my hands beginning to blister, my elbows bruised. At least I gained relief as I realized the vent was growing wider. Suddenly, my hands weren't using the wall to push me closer, but I was using the floor. It got taller too. As it got taller, I was able to stand up more and more. Eventually, I was standing in a giant metal chasm. I saw a light. I ran as my steps echoed louder than you can ever imagine. I ran closer to that light, making a lot of ruckus. Didn't know what I was running towards it for, but again, keep moving forward. Eventually, I came to a giant circular structure. 12 slanted windows were on the floor. Very old. The windows were all grayed out. I couldn't see through them. It was emitting light, but was foggy and gray. I kneeled down to touch one to see if it was dust, but there was nothing on my finger. It was like a cloud was inside the windows. I just started walking around, the circle looking at the windows. Suddenly I stopped. When I tell you, instant goosebumps as I stared at the far window on the floor. You know why? Because it was open. The glass went up, held up by some wood. That must have been the loud bang I heard earlier. Someone, or something, opened this window. Chills. I slowly approached it and looked down into the open window. I knew I climbed up into the vent, but what I saw below me was far deeper down than I would have expected. I was in a roof, it seemed, and directly below me was a large, dilapidated fountain, still filled with water. It looked deep, but not of this era. Even though it was broken down and chipping, it seemed definitely out of this era. I leaned in closer, and I could see brown specks of something in the water. I kept leaning. Then I felt a force of unknown origin push me over the edge. Sorry. I was falling in slow motion, it felt like. It's funny, all through the night, I've been going through my life thinking of my mistakes. But as I was falling, I wasn't thinking of much of anything. Just how this was probably gonna hurt. Maybe this'll kill me. I also thought my knee hurt quite a bit as I banged it on the window glass when I fell. When I kept falling, blinded by those sudden bright lights, I did manage to open my eyes, of course, right before I hit the water. Thank God it was deep. For a moment I was floating. I thought I was dead. I did jerk and woke myself up and turned around. And of course, I coughed out the water that was in my throat. I thought I was good before I started choking again. It kept splashing and hitting my throat until I dislodged a penny from my throat. A penny! They don't even make those anymore. Pennies. That's what I was surrounded by. They were floating in the water around me. You know, usually pennies are at the bottom of fountains. Why were they floating? At the edge of the fountain, I sat up. I took off that flannel long sleeve that I wore everywhere and tied it around my waist. I looked at that penny. It was blank, except for the ear. I couldn't make it out because, of course, I lost my glasses when I fell in the water. Nice going, Velma. I climbed over the edge onto the tile floor beside the fountain. Knees were bleeding. Arm was hurt. Still had whiplash. My glasses floating in the fountain. Grabbed them from the edge, and they still fit, not quite right. But with my vision back, I looked up and saw the fountain from the ground. I could tell in its heyday it probably would have been a gorgeous architecture piece. There was mermaids carved into the base. It had a metallic green color that I assume was probably gold at one time. My mouth tasted like copper. I don't know if that was the penny or the blood. But I looked at the penny. The year on it was 1997. How funny. Looking straight up, I saw where I fell from. I was scared to look into the open window, to be honest. See whatever I was pushed by. But yet, nothing was there. The window was still open. There wasn't a presence of anything. I looked around, and I was perplexed to see empty stores on both sides of me. Beyond the fountain were 2 escalators, not working. I thought it looked a lot like my mall, but it wasn't quite right. I yelled for help. I yelled for the old security guard. I yelled for Leo, but my voice just echoed back. I started to panic and look for anything, an exit. I was hobbling with my knee that was bleeding, but I started looking around for anything, an exit. The empty stores were all chained up with that big metal closing thing that stores usually have. I couldn't even recognize the names of the stores around me. Missing letters, unrecognizable logos. I was scared. I was freaked. So I just ran up the escalator, hoping to see an exit at the top. Nearly tripped in my panic with my knee. At the top, when I got there, I was floored with what I saw. This mall was not only empty, it was endless. The rows of stores went down for as far as I can see. All empty, all closed. It raised my primal fear. It looked like a mall, but only the ones in my dreams. It was musty, cold, and just stores upon stores. I'd walked with caution for a while, trying to observe everything. I came across more hallways going endlessly down, signs I couldn't understand. Sometimes I'd see a logo that looked vaguely familiar. Sometimes, but there was something wrong with it. There was more escalators, elevators even. Didn't want to try those. Couldn't make sense of what I was seeing. It felt like a bad dream. Worst part about it, it was illuminated by really old yellow lights. Every once in a while, there'd be those cloudy windows I was talking about on the ceiling, like the one I fell out of. But they were just too high to reach without any equipment. Somehow, I know this is crazy, but somehow I felt even more alone. Not only did it stretch for miles, but there was not a human or anything like that in sight. I thought my ears were ringing, but as I was walking slowly in shock, probably, like a recently turned up zombie, it got louder. It sounded like light music was echoing in the halls. I ended up hobbling my bum knee towards the music. I turned down another endless hallway where I came to a big center of circular architecture, much like a larger version of the vent I was in. And in the center, there was a giant empty desk, abandoned long ago. Above it, I found my first English word I've seen all day. Information. I went towards it. It was empty. No information to be found on it. Except, of course, in front of the old squeaky office chair, there was a small radio playing the music I was hearing. Not much better than elevator music. Beside it was a tape recorder. It was larger than I expected. Out of the 80s or 90s for sure. Kind of like what Kevin used in Home Alone, only a bit more professional. I thought it was odd. It had a fresh, unused tape inside. I started looking around for anything more I can find. In front of the chair under the desk was a drawer that was locked, but broken enough that, if I tug it hard enough, I'd probably be able to open it. And sure enough, I did. All that was in there was a notepad with a fresh marker imprinted on it, and a blank tape. There was a note left on the pad. For me? I don't see anyone else around. It must be. So, here's the note. I'm reading it exactly to you, what it says. I'm holding it in my hands. It says, "Greetings. You are safe here. We encourage you to explore the space you're in. There is food, but you'll have to find it. There are supplies to keep you warm, but you'll have to get into the stores. We will protect you in exchange for one thing. Each day you recount your day into this tape recorder. What you see, what you find, and most importantly, how you feel. Once you're done, stop the tape and put it in the drawer. Don't worry about returning it to this information desk. There is plenty around the mall. Before you put the tape in the drawer, grab a fresh one for the next day. There's a backpack with water inside it under the desk where you can keep your supplies and the tape recorder. Be kind on the tape. We listen, and you never know where it'll be broadcast or who is listening. Sometimes we can't even control that. For every tape received, we will give you more supplies needed. Go ahead, introduce yourself, recount your day, leave the tape, grab a new one, and start your adventure. Cheers. Signed, the Dead Mall Club. Now, I debated not recording this, because why would I? I screamed many things into that thing that I shouldn't repeat. How entitled? Who the fuck are you and why are you listening? Why can't you let me go? What the hell is a Dead Mall Club? I'm only obeying the yellow notepad for 2 reasons, and 2 reasons only. 1, I don't know how long I'm going to be stuck here for. I don't know what to do. I've already cried in the chair at the information desk for hours. I need food. I need supplies. I know some would give up and just die, but I gotta keep moving forward. I'm not letting my lazy, poor life decisions lead to giving up. I don't trust this Dead Mall Club, whatever that is, but I gotta move forward. So, Dead Mall Club, know that I'm doing this begrudgingly, and I hate you. Number 2, it said in the note that sometimes they can't even control who's listening. If I am to trust that, this could be broadcasting somewhere back home. Maybe someone can help. Anyone listening to this feed right now, yes, you, if you are listening to me, I need help. The backpack gave me some bottled water from a company I never heard of called Nesco. Gave me a vague map. It didn't show the full mall, of course. That would be endless, it seems. But a couple of the hallways I was in, and at the top, there was a little section that said food court. So, I guess logically, that's where I should go next. So, for anyone who is not in the Dead Mall Club listening, yes, you right now, my name is Colby Baxter. I am 28 years old from Woodward, Ontario, Canada. The time is 9:28 p.m. wherever I am. I am trapped and I need your help. Save me. Save me. Save me. Alright. Signing off. Talk to you next time. Cheers.